Hi there. Today we're going to chat about whether you need a business entity license for conducting your real estate business. So my word of advice is the year you make more than $35,000 to $40,000 selling real estate, that's the year you should consider getting yourself an LLC and getting a business entity license. And we're going to talk at length about what that means, what those are, why you should have them, why you should wait until you are making $35,000 to $40,000 a year selling real estate. So the first thing I want to talk about is there is a threshold where it is costing you money to have an LLC and a business entity license, and it's costing you more money than your tax savings in having an LLC and a business entity license. And a general rule of thumb that I keep seeing is $35,000 to $40,000. Below that income level, the fees associated with having an LLC and having a business entity license don't necessarily outweigh the tax savings. So first thing I want to talk about is, as a real estate agent, you are a 1099 independent contractor. We're going to be sending you a 1099 and you're going to pay taxes on that amount. You can register an LLC with the State Corporation Commission. And then that allows you to be paid as your LLC. And then your LLC can then give you, the person, dividends, salaried paychecks, and it allows you to diversify the way in which you are paid. And each of those has a different tax implication to it. So you may not want to get everything as a 1099 income. You may want it all to go to the LLC, and then a certain amount becomes salary, a certain amount becomes dividends. And that just gives you some freedom to have a more flexible way to pay yourself. Now, these are very common with teams, because obviously you want everything going into the team LLC, and then the LLC decides who's getting paid what amount and what's going to be salaried and what's going to be 1099 amount. So once you have decided to do this, and this works perfectly fine for individuals as well, we have probably 20, 25 agents at the firm who we don't pay them, the person. We don't pay Donna Wright, we pay the LLC. And the way we can do that is, in addition to Donna, we're using her as an example today, Donna having an LLC called, The Right Way, or whatever she wants to name her LLC. You like that? Instead of paying Donna Wright, we would be able to pay all of her commissions to The Right Way LLC. And the only way we're able to do that, because firms can only pay licensees, is Donna, in addition to her LLC registered with the State Corporation Commission, she also has to have a DPOR license for her LLC, and those are called a business entity license. So once she has been issued her tax ID number or her federal ID number through the State Corporation Commission to her LLC, then there is a form on DPOR, which is a business entity license application. Donna would fill that out, and we would submit that to DPOR, and then a second license arrives. So we'll have Donna Wright's license. We'll also have the Right Way LLC business entity license. That means that my firm can now cut checks to that licensee, the Right Way LLC. And all the checks get made out to that LLC. Donna obviously would have to set up a bank account for the LLC, and that money is going to go into that bank account. And then she and her tax accountant can decide how she wants to receive that money from her LLC. There are expenses involved. There are registration fees every year for the State Corporation Commission. You have to do minutes. It really is not cumbersome, I promise. And it's not even that expensive. It's less than $200 to register the LLC, get your tax ID number. It is not terribly expensive. You do have to do some paperwork every year, obviously. And you have to keep up that business entity license with DPOR. that is an additional renewal fee. Now, one thing I'll tell you is that business entity license cannot stand alone. So if Donna were to go on inactive status, that business entity license is intrinsically tied to Donna Wright. That business entity license would be made inactive as well. So it only exists to serve Donna. It cannot exist on its own. These are very common in real estate. To receive all of your money as a 1099, at some point that's going to become costly. So it is something that we help agents do frequently. So if you have been curious about getting a business entity license or an LLC and what that entails, you certainly are welcome to reach out to us. I'm happy to walk you through it. We do these business entity license applications all the time. So if you have any questions about that, just call us and we'll walk you through it. We also can certainly recommend attorneys here in town who can set up the LLCs. You can do it yourself. You can go on the State Corporation Commission website and you can do it yourself. It does not have to be terribly expensive. Has anybody on the call set up an LLC before, worked with the State Corporation Commission, and you might volunteer to speak about how that is? Jess, do you want to jump in for a second?
Yeah, I can. So I had no idea. I was very ignorant when it came to starting a business, starting an LLC. But the process, once you get the process and the information from behind the scenes, and kind of, Google if you're ignorant about it as well as I was, just educate yourself, look on Google, there's tons of stuff, but the process is so simple online. I think it's just going from point A to point B, like getting started to actually doing it that is scary. But once you start the process, it's so easy.
It is. And I will tell y'all a funny story. Investors use LLCs all the time. They don't want to buy their flip properties or their flip and hold properties as themselves. They want to set up an LLC, maybe specific to a couple of units or specific to a single unit. And so we see purchase contracts come through here where investors are buying properties. And I swear to y'all, and Jennifer and Donna will tell you this is true, we had one come through here and the LLC for the investor was called PP Poo Poo LLC. I am not making that up. That was literally the State Corporation Commission registered LLC name. So I had to ask the agent about it. And the agent was like, yes, they put that in there just as a placeholder. And then they just never went back to like submit the paperwork to change the LLC name. And I thought, I mean, that happened at 11 p.m. at night on the State Corporation Commission website where they were like, I don't know what to name the LLC. And then they started giggling and named it PP Poo Poo LLC. For real, y'all. Unbelievable.
We also see with investors on contracts the unit number. So it was 1202 Electric Road LLC. So each of their rental properties had a different LLC for that specific property, which I think is kind of funny too.
I've joked that, so my husband and I still own our old house, which was mine and Donna's grandma's house. And we have recently bought our twins' grandmother's house. We adopted our twins, so she's not family, but except she's family by choice. She moved and we bought her house. So we're just collecting all these grandma houses. And I've said that we need to set up an LLC for the two of them called Over the River and Through the Woods LLC, since all we buy is grandma houses. But we have not. We bought them as ourselves, and we probably should have bought them as LLCs, but we certainly can do that in the future. So State Corporation Commission is where you go to register an LLC. It is not difficult, y'all. I swear, I was very young when I did my first business and set up an LLC in my early 20s, and it's not that hard. It can be tax advantageous for you to be paid through your LLC. And if you get yourself one thing in the first 5 years of real estate, it should be an accountant or a CPA that you truly trust, who can advise you on ways to pay less taxes, right? To use to your advantage the workarounds that are legal and acceptable and what people are doing. So if you can avoid paying at the highest tax rate, please do so. Okay, anybody have any questions about business entity licenses or LLCs? I'm happy to pause for a moment. We've got plenty of time this morning to chat about that. Okay, well, we're going to keep on trucking then. So let's move on to talking about writing letters to find a home for your buyer and how you can use CRS tax data to help with that. So I have some clients and we sold their house and we sold it lickety split fast and I can't find them another house. So they moved into said grandma house that I bought. So they signed a 6-month lease. We just happened to have closed the month before on our twins' grandma's house and didn't have a tenant yet. And so, I said, do you guys maybe want to come look at the one I just bought? We don't have a tenant yet. And so they moved in there while I try to find them a house. We have not had any luck. They're looking for a mid-century modern, like a true mid-century modern ranch. And we're having a hard time, y'all. So what we've decided to do is I gave them homework last weekend and I told them to drive around Roanoke, go to the pocket neighborhoods that they know have mid-century modern ranches that were built in the 50s and 60s, and drive around and find me 5 properties that they would want to get inside of and look at. And they're doing that. And I'm going to send letters to all of those homeowners, and I'm going to use CRS tax data, which is attached to our MLS, to figure out who owns those properties, how long have they owned those properties, and is there a mortgage on the property? So CRS tax data does not across the board display all mortgage information, but it does. Sometimes you can see the mortgage information. I would say it's not 100% rate on them reporting it, but it might be there, and it would just give me more information to strategize with. So if I know folks moved into that house 2 years ago and they have a mortgage, that's pretty high, they're most likely not going to be interested in selling that home to my folks. So at first they wanted to send letters to a whole neighborhood, but I had to talk to them about how that might look like a scam if everybody in the neighborhood starts comparing notes and they're like, I got this letter too. I got this letter too. That might look weird. So instead we need to target specific houses that are on a lot they like, maybe already has a fenced in backyard. And then we're just going to do some research on those because I may be able to research it and find photos of that house from a previous listing and they have completely remodeled it and they've gotten rid of all of the mid-century modern charm that my folks are specifically looking for. And so we may choose to take that one off the list once they've seen the inside from 5 years ago. So it's just a place to start for us to do some creative farming to figure out where we can maybe find a house. And Rich has offered up that RPR, which is the Realtor Property Resource site, is also an absolutely excellent tool to use for that. That is a National Association of Realtors product that is given to you for free as a benefit for being a National Association of Realtors member. And it also has super, super, super deep information that it pulls all over the web to put in one location for you, like ownership history, mortgage history. You can do, you can gather addresses from there. CRS tax data does the same thing. I can go on CRS tax data or RPR, and I can say, I want to filter what my search is for a certain area by who's lived there more than 10 years. And then I can really start to narrow down who might be a good candidate for me to go knock on their door and say, hey, my name's Ashley, I'm a realtor, and we're really struggling. Me and my buyers are struggling to find a house. They absolutely love your house, not to sound creepy, but have you ever thought about if you got a great offer, would you consider selling your house? And I'm genuinely there with my buyer's best interests at heart. I'm not there pretending to have a buyer to try to get a listing. Okay. You have to be honest with all customers and the general public. But truly, I'm going to be pounding the pavement and looking for a house for my buyers. So RPR or CRS tax data is going to be an excellent way to maybe narrow my search and make it a little more targeted to who is going to be the best candidate for that. I'm going to open it up, let you guys ask questions, ask you, have you ever written any letters to neighborhoods to see if you can drum up a house for your buyers? It's only specific to this market, y'all. Hey, Rich.
So back when I was at KW and had no idea how to even lead generate, that was what I was doing, was letters. Back when stamps were below 50 cents, now they're at 58. So it made it a lot of sense because I don't like calling people. I feel like I'm bothering them when I call, and I don't like to hear the fine adjectives that they use to say that you're bothering them, and then the click. So I was sending out letters and I would canvass a whole neighborhood. Well, I've actually stepped it up to where now I use RPR, print out the first 2 pages, which gives their picture of their home, my information, the value of their home on market value, with a letter. And then I walk the neighborhoods and deliver them and put it on the flags instead of in the mailboxes.
Mhm.
The letters, since I've done it, I've had actually 7 listings come off those letters. So it's been pretty nice. I'm getting another one that I'll be signing the contract on Sunday, but it won't be on the market until December 1st is when they're going to be able to do it. They're moving out of state. They want everything out of the house for the pictures and stuff like that. So I get it.
And Rich,
But
that is an excellent point, that you can sign a listing agreement months in advance of when the listing period begins. You don't want to give them the opportunity to go, maybe we should interview 5 other agents, go ahead and enter into that listing agreement while they've made the decision, they're ready to do it. And even if their listing period time may be sometime out.
Right. And that's what I'm doing with this one. So this neighborhood, there's 10 houses in it. I will have listed 4 houses in that neighborhood. 3 of them since last February to now, I'll have listed 3 of them. 2 of them already sold. So this will be the 3rd one this calendar year for that neighborhood. So
That's awesome.
And it's all by me walking, putting a little RPR and a little introduction about myself, 1 business card, 2 business cards, and just, I mean, let's face it, we sit behind a computer all day and we're like, okay, that looks good, just put in our mouths and eat. And you just sit there and you don't do anything. So now I've figured out a way to be active instead of door knocking, because no one wants to see anybody with a mask on there, but letters do work.
They do. And the fact that you're hand delivering them. Yep.
Mhm.
Even if you're not going to see them when you're hand delivering them, it's still very apparent to them that you actually took the time to go there and drop it off. Yep. And people are naturally curious about their values, and RPR, what I like about Rich using RPR to do it and to give them a glossy flyer about what their home is worth, information about area comps, is that unlike Zillow and Realtor.com, sellers don't have access to RPR. Homeowners, it's going to look fresh and new. It's not going to look like you printed off a Zestimate and dropped it by their house. So it's going to look more like something value only a realtor could provide them.
That, and it's always branded to you as well. It has your name, your picture on there, your contact information. So then you leave a business card for them to give to someone else. So you're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah. Yep. Excellent points. Who else has anything they want to add about writing letters, delivering letters? In my case, it's specifically to try to find a home for my buyers. In Rich's case, it's to farm a neighborhood and find listings. Don't be shy, y'all. Okay, then we're going to move on and we're going to talk about disgruntled buyers and the need for over communication. Y'all, I'm tired because I'm getting a lot of phone calls in this market about buyers feeling like they overpaid, were rushed into a decision, not necessarily by their agent, but just by the market. This market is moving at lightning speed. It is starting to slow down a little, for which I am very grateful. because for the last year, I've been trying to help agents with their clients' concerns 2 weeks, 3 weeks into a transaction. Because what's happening is buyers are rushing into decisions because the market is forcing fast decisions, which is not ever a great thing for buyers. But buyers are having to make snap decisions. They're having to put an offer on a house that they've seen one time or maybe not even seen in person. And then as the excitement cools off over the next 2 to 3 weeks, that's perfect timing for the home inspection report to be delivered and the radon inspection report to be delivered and the appraisal to come in. And for buyers to start to think that perhaps they rushed, perhaps they overpaid, perhaps they made some snap decisions they're now wishing they had not. It's hard for them to remember, and it's hard for you to remind them that they may not have gotten the house. They may not have been the winning bid had they done anything differently. It may have gone to someone else, that we were making those decisions based on the information we had at the time. Because now they've cooled off a little and they're realizing that they may be overpaid, or they maybe took things out of the contract, out of the offer that they wish they had not taken out, like a radon inspection or any inspections or an appraisal contingency. So the thing to remember is that in a market like this, as the buyer's agent, it is going to be more critical to over communicate with your buyers. You want to continually communicate with them, even during and especially during the slow period where you're waiting for inspections to get returned, you're waiting for the appraisal to come back, you're waiting to go to closing. You really want to make sure you're not dropping off. You're not letting it be silent from you for 3 or 4 days. You want to stay in touch with them, even if that means you need to go ahead and write 4 emails and schedule send them to go out every 2 days that just say, hey, just checking in, wanted to see if you had any concerns, or, I know we're waiting on the appraisal, or just something as simple as 5 days to closing. I'm getting excited. Anything that is just them hearing from you, because they need to continue to feel supported. Some of the complaints I'm getting from agents is that their buyers are now being maybe uncharacteristically strict on what they're asking for in a response to receiving reports, because the human side of them is saying, hey, we overpaid. Let's see if we can get the seller to really contribute. Let's make sure we really sort of get our money's worth. It's sort of like when you've paid for the buffet and you go eat one more plate of food just because you want to get your money's worth. Buyers are kind of feeling that way 3 weeks into the transaction, where they feel like they may have overpaid, or the escalation clause they offered was triggered. And so now they're feeling a little bit sorry for themselves that they had to pay so much to get the house. And so now they're going to be looking to sort of recoup some of that money in terms of repairs, if the appraisal comes in low. So I'm just saying to make sure you're keeping the transaction on track and you're making your buyers feel supported and heard, you have to stay in contact with them. Okay. The worst feeling is in the world is when you get that email or you get that text message that says, hey, Ashley, we haven't heard from you. Like, everything's still going okay. Listen, y'all, I should never get that. I get it sometimes, but I should never get that from my clients. I should be proactively staying in touch with them. And again, even if that means I have to put processes in place to make sure alarms on my phone, reminder emails to myself. Hey, Ashley, it's time to email Abby. It's time to provide an update to Abby. I've got to do what I need to do to make sure I'm supporting my buyers and making sure, especially in this type of market, when they feel a little bit like the cards are stacked against them, that I'm in their corner, I'm working for them, I'm making sure everything's going smoothly. So I would love for anybody to share, since this is a, seasoned agent phone call. What are you doing to make sure that in those last 2 weeks prior to closing that you are still communicating and staying in touch with your buyers and supporting them? Is there anything anybody's doing? I use a transaction coordinator. I use Rebecca Hartley. She sends out a summary email every single Thursday where it is just, here's where we are. These are the milestones we've reached. Here's where we still have to go. Now, I make sure I reply to that email. I hit reply all and I say, thank you, Rebecca. We're really looking forward to receiving the appraisal, and I'll let everyone know when it's been received. Okay. I am not just letting that hang out there. It's not Rebecca's job. It's not the transaction coordinator's job to be the voice. She's there providing the resource, and I'm chiming in to make sure I'm still present. I'm still supporting them. I'm not just saying, thanks, Rebecca, or you're the best, Rebecca. I am instead picking something on that summary to comment on. That way I'm still contributing. I am still providing value. I'm still supporting my buyers. I lied. I said I was going to open it up. Now I'm opening it up. Who's got something to say or something to share about how you're keeping your buyers in the loop?
I put them both in a text message.
Great.
And the one that I have on the contract now, they did a pre-listing home inspection.
Mhm.
And she's taking care of everything. And my buyer said that they'll use her instead of going out and pay for it.
Yeah.
So he's actually sent me the invoices back to what she's done. So I just forward them to my people like, hey, look, this is what they've done. This is what I've gotten. Any questions, concerns, please let me know. I put them in a group text message, and I hate group text messages, but I put them both in there just for them. And I send it out and say, this is what's going on. If you have anything, let me know. Concerns, stuff like that. But
Yep. And that's an excellent point as well, Rich, that right now in this market, you may have a transaction with your buyer where there is nothing to do. There are no inspections. There's maybe only the appraisal. That could be a long 30 days for a buyer to wait that is not punctuated by checking tasks off. That is a recipe for nerves. Okay. There are no milestones. There's, okay, see you in 30 days and we'll close. You can't just ghost them and say, everything's moving along fine. You've got to keep them engaged. You've got to keep them in the loop.
This
So
is
now I
where
have
I'll,
a-
so sorry, Rich, go ahead.
no, go ahead. This is totally different than that. So go ahead.
Okay.
This is where I'll chime in and say text messaging is wonderful. I use text messaging, but sometimes, especially like in your situation, Ashley, where there's just nothing to do, just hearing your voice on the other end of the phone is so much better than a text message. So take the time out to at least check in with them literally on the phone so they can hear your voice to kind of calm those nerves as well. It makes a difference. And I do use text messaging. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying every now and then reach out in person as far as a phone call goes as well.
And I've had 2 transactions recently in this market where my buyers, in order to be successful and get the contract in a multiple offer situation, they've had to agree to allow the seller's time to find another home. So both of those were subject to suitable housing. That is a nerve-wracking 6 to 8 weeks for the buyer, and I will admit that once or twice my buyer texted me to say, hey, any updates? Hey, have they gotten a house yet? Okay, well, that's my wake up call that I am not doing what I'm telling y'all to do. I've got to every 3 days go, hey, I just checked with the agent. They've submitted an offer. It wasn't accepted. They're going to keep trying. Okay. It's up to me. I am the one who is supposed to be the master of communication, so and I do have a sinking feeling anytime a buyer has to reach out to me first. Okay. And that should indicate to you, that is a clear signal from your buyer that you are not communicating frequently enough for their comfort level. Okay. And again, I'll tell you, I'm totally guilty of that sometimes. Sometimes I blink and a wink and a week has gone by and I don't realize. When I get those Thursday morning summary emails from Rebecca on my transactions, I literally think, I just got one of those. Like a week just goes by like that, but it's crawling for your buyers because they are nervous wrecks about the house. Is the seller going to find another house? Are we going to be back to square one in 6 weeks? You know, what's going to happen? So whatever you've got to do to make sure you're communicating with them. This is a market where you want to over communicate with your buyers because
You got it
anxiety.
done in 6 weeks?
I'm sorry.
You got it done in 6 weeks?
So in two examples, recently we gave the seller 6 weeks to find a house. And in both cases, down at the wire, they got under contract on something. So
I got one longer than that.
really,
And it wasn't, yes, so we got a contract on Mother's Day weekend.
Mhm.
And they wanted to build their house because they had the land, but they couldn't find anything. And I kept asking them, hey, did you find any houses, just to rent? I'll look for it, everything. We didn't close until the middle of August. And it just happens to be this house that I'm gonna be listing is their next door neighbor. And they talked to the people that moved in there. They
Mhm.
said, yeah, we're getting pretty close to say we're not buying the house. I mean, it took forever. And finally they're like, we'll just live in a camper.
yeah.
That's what they did.
Yeah,
it was
we
a
were
nightmare.
very, in one case, I was very nervous because the sellers of the home that my buyers were wanting to buy wanted Grandin, but they had to have a garage. And I was like, there really are not very many houses with garages over. You want a carport? Sure. A garage? That's going to be slim pickings, but they have found something, thank goodness. So
So off the topic, I got a question.
Please.
And I'm running into a brick wall on this. I always give my people a little gift.
Mhm.
The people that I have for the contract for next month to close, I've already given her something and I can't give her the same exact thing, but I try making it personalized.
Mhm.
But I have no idea what to even go and get. I mean, I have an idea what I want to do, but I don't know where to go. So any ideas anybody has would be
What's
great.
your idea of what you think would be suitable for her?
So I know that she's a horse person. He's a Harley guy. So I was thinking getting like a piece of wood engraved or burned with their name on it and have horseshoes on it for the coat rack to hang in the doorway. But then the question is, do you date it for the day that they bought the house or do you date it? Because I don't know when they got married. So it wasn't established then, but that's what I was thinking of doing.
Mhm.
But I have no idea if
Well,
that's
maybe you don't date it at all.
right.
And what I'll tell you is this is where I learned stuff with my dad, just spending time with him. We took a field trip out to Woodcrafters out at near Sam's Club
Mhm.
in Roanoke. And they had a cutting board up there with laser engraving on it. And there are two ladies here in town who have a machine that do laser engraving. And they have
That's what I normally give.
yeah, they had their business card there. So that would be one resource to go maybe do a special order through them. And then Jess is telling
This is what I normally give right here.
we can't see it because of your green screen. Put it in front. There you go. There you go. Is that a
So-
cutting board?
It is a little cutting board. Obviously, it's
Nice.
got the old firm on there, but it's got my name. That's what I normally give. However, I can't give them the same gift twice.
Yes.
And so that's what I'm just trying to figure out something.
Right. And Jess has said that Rich Kennedy K at Smith Mountain Lake can help. Jess, what does Rich Kennedy K do?
So it's just Kennedy K. I was saying Rich.
Oh, Rich.
So she makes a lot of like home decor and personalized signs. She has a Facebook. And this is for all realtors. She does an amazing job with personalized gifts for your home. I know we've bought several items that we love and they never come down from our walls.
Well,
Where's
and
she at?
I'll add,
She's-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, she's here down at Smith Mountain Lake. She did have an office, but she decided that it was better to work out of her home. So if you look her up, Kennedy K on Facebook, and shoot her a message and just let her know that I referred you, then she might give you a good deal.
And here's another idea. Rhonda Ellis at our firm also owns Gifts Ahoy at Smith Mountain
Yes.
Lake, literally across the street from our Smith Mountain Lake office. They make their own fudge, like in-house, making their own fudge. They have tons of gifts, ton of snacky gifts, that type of thing. I have no idea if they make gift baskets or not, but I feel sure that is in their niche of what they would be doing. So that's another way that you can support another Wainwright agent and use their business and perhaps have them put together a gift package for you. And I'm sure that they have a range of price points that you could do.
And she also owns Bridgewater Sportswear. So between the two, I'm sure Rhonda would be happy to help you also.
Yep. And that's, I'm going to type, I put Gifts Ahoy at Smith Mountain Lake. It's Rhonda Ellis. All right. Anybody have any new business? Anything we want to chat about before we finish up the call today? I didn't run on at the mouth as much as I usually do. Usually I'm up against the wire for 10 a.m. Thank you for putting that link, Jennifer, to Gifts Ahoy. So if you go in the chat window, there's a link to Facebook to the Gifts Ahoy
Perfect.
Facebook business page.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Anybody got anything? Okay,
You said that you checked out Markville?
I did. And actually, I reached out to Jess and asked her if she would go ahead and put our company branding on there and make me some like resource, like what am I trying to say? Links to certain types of products that you guys might be interested in. So Rich has been using a website called Markful, a company called Markful, and they will do branded items, t-shirts, hats, notepads, all that kind of stuff. So I've asked Jess to go on there and put in our branding kit so that the logos are there, the color schemes are there, all of that. And then we're going to be offering to you guys just some links. If you want to go get a hat, if you want to get a t-shirt, you could already have it all branded to Wainwright. You could add your own personal branding to it if you wanted, and it would just make it a little more turnkey to be able to order something. So Rich, I'm very appreciative you shared
no
that
problem.
resource with us. Yeah.
It used to be House of Magnets, but then they
Aha.
changed it from House of Magnets to Markville.
Okay.
And I did a lot of stuff with them before. So I know I had an in over there where I was sending them my own design for business cards
Mhm.
and having them uploaded. So I didn't go with the run of the mill. Unfortunately, I had to now because the person that designed them for me is making it difficult. But so I went run of the mill, but
Not me. Not me. It's not me.
but so when I set it up to get it done, I mean, obviously going from a national firm to a local firm, it's not all out there. So I figured I'd use them. They'd probably be able to help me out pretty quickly, and they did. So that's why I wanted to make sure that you're aware of it. It's out
Yes,
there. for
thank
Wainwright.
you. I also asked Jess to go ahead and do the same thing on Vistaprint so that we've got two sites where you can go and easily get branded materials if you'd like. Yeah. Your truck looks amazing.
Thanks.
I don't know how you got it in your office, but it looks great.
Well, that is the proof that they sent me. Because they don't have my tags on there, which is just my first name and then the last initial. But Smith Mountain Lake Signs, SML Signs, they did it. They've rewrapped all my signs from switching over from KW to here. And he's a veteran, so it's nice to always do business with another veteran. So when I can't call him up and said, "Hey, I need this done. Can you design it?" He goes, "Yeah, no problem." And he did it. So, but that's where it did. And it's not as expensive as what it was before or what you'd think. I
Good.
paid $140 for that.
Wow. That takes the sting out of having to
It's
do
a little
it.
crazy. Yeah.
$140. And I'm trying to figure out, I talked to one accountant to say, "Hey, that's a rolling billboard. So technically every time that I drive that, it's business. I should be able to write those miles off." And he goes, "No, you can't."
That's, I got excited.
I know. I was like, this is a rolling billboard. It's permanently on my truck.
Uh-huh.
It's not like I can take the tailgate off and say, "Well, it's not business today." I'm if you put a billboard up, you get to write that off on like a main highway. But this is where I'm seeing more people than people just driving by one billboard. But
Yeah.
I tried getting the mileage right off on that one.
Good
but
try. Good try.
Hey, off topic, Ashley, I just looked at Rhonda's Facebook page, and I think she has the sign we want, the map, a laser cut map.
Okay, so I almost
we need to
told
ask
you- I
her.
almost told you that I saw somebody had that across the street, and I wasn't sure if it was her or not, out on a easel out front. We're looking for a laser cut map of Smith Mountain Lake. so
Like a
that we
piece of
can hang
art
it in the Smith
instead
Mountain.
of just a regular map, just so it's artwork basically.
Right.
Yeah, pretty cool. We'll have to check that out.
Yeah. Good. I'm putting you on that task, Jennifer.
Well, it's 16 by 20. How big is that?
Not very big.
I didn't think so. That's a lot of money. Holy moly. I'm cheap.
For That's why you're in charge of the money.
I got the money.
You don't want me
in-house.
in charge of the money. Yep.
I see you have the same problem I have. That looks good. We'll just get that. And then the next thing you know, where all the money go?
Yeah, I'm great at ideas and spending, and that's why I put Bulldog Jennifer in charge of the wallet. Yep.
Yeah.
I got to convince her. Yep. All right, everybody, we're going to wrap it up at 10 o'clock. We're going to be discussing the inspection addendum and what it all means, how you interpret it, how many days do you have to do each of the things. And I'd love for you to join us if you have time. Otherwise, I hope you have a fantastic rest of the week. And as always, I'm so thankful y'all came.